The distress signal came through at 0300 hours, cutting through the silence of the night shift like a knife. Lieutenant Marcus Chen sat up straighter in his chair, his coffee forgotten as the automated systems began their frantic beeping. The signal originated from Sector 7G, deep in contested space where 3 alien empires met at their borders. No human ship should have been there. No sane captain would risk it. But there it was, clear as day on his screen, a human signature, a single pilot. "Sir, we have an emergency beacon," Chen called out to Commander Reeves, who was already moving toward the communication station. The older man's face was grave as he leaned over Chen's shoulder, studying the data stream. "Can you get a ship identification?" Reeves asked, his voice tight with concern. Chen's fingers danced across the haptic interface, pulling up layers of information. "Negative, sir. The transponder is damaged. But I'm getting a call sign." He paused, his eyes widening. "Sir, it's Whiskey 79er. The bridge fell silent." Every officer on duty turned to look at the communications station. Whiskey 79er was a legend, a ghost story that pilots told each other in the mess halls and during long patrol routes. For 3 years, reports had filtered back from the frontier about a lone human pilot who appeared out of nowhere during battles, turning the tide before vanishing again. She flew a custom-modified interceptor that shouldn't exist, performed maneuvers that should kill any pilot, and never once revealed her identity. The alien species called her different names. The Kralix named her Shentar, which meant death's shadow in their clicking language. The Vorshan Empire had put a bounty on her head so large it could buy a small moon, referring to her only as the Silent Strike. The crystalline Netheri, who rarely showed emotion, called her Chaos Incarnate, and refused to engage any human vessel in sectors where she had been spotted. But humanity knew her only as Whiskey 79er. No name, no rank, no record of enlistment in any human military force. "Get me a location lock," Reeves ordered, his voice cutting through the stunned silence. "Now." Chen worked quickly, but his hands were shaking. Meeting Whiskey 79er was like meeting a myth made flesh. "She's in the Vandar cluster, sir. Looks like she's drifting. Heavy damage to her ship's systems. Life support is failing. How long does she have?" 4 hours, maybe 5 if she's running emergency protocols." Reeves straightened up, his jaw set with determination. "Get me Captain Rodriguez on the Lincoln. We need a rescue ship in that sector immediately." "Sir, the Lincoln is 8 hours out at maximum burn," another officer called from the navigation station. "And that's if they leave right now." The commander's face darkened. He knew what that meant. They all did. Whiskey 79er had saved countless human lives over the years, appearing when battles seemed lost, when colonies were about to fall, when transport ships full of civilians were surrounded by alien raiders. She had asked for nothing in return, accepted no recognition, and disappeared before anyone could even thank her properly. Now she needed help, and they couldn't reach her in time. "Sir," Chen said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper, "I'm picking up something else. Multiple ships entering the sector. They're Kralix hunting packs." The Kralix were brutal hunters, insectoid creatures that traveled in swarms and took pride in collecting the skulls of worthy opponents. They had been hunting Whiskey 79er for over a year, ever since she had destroyed an entire Kralix warfleet single-handedly during the Battle of Proxima Reach. To them, she was the ultimate prize, the one kill that would bring eternal glory to whichever warrior claimed it. "How many ships?" Reeves demanded. 12, sir. Corvette class. They're moving fast, burning hard toward her position." Reeves slammed his fist on the console. "Damn it, how did they get a lock on her beacon?" "Unknown, sir. But they'll reach her in 90 minutes. The commander stood there for a long moment, his mind racing through options. They could send the distress call up the chain of command, but that would take time they didn't have. They could try to contact nearby civilian vessels, but no merchant captain would be crazy enough to fly into a Kralix hunting pack. The nearest military vessel was too far away. Whiskey 79er was going to die alone in the black, and there was nothing they could do about it. "Sir," Chen said suddenly, his voice rising with excitement, "I'm getting another signal. It's a general broadcast from Whiskey 79er herself." "Put it through," Reeves ordered immediately. "All speakers." The bridge filled with static, and then a voice cut through. It was female, calm despite the circumstances, with a slight accent that Chen couldn't quite place. It sounded almost casual, as if she were commenting on the weather rather than facing certain death. "This is Whiskey 79er to any human vessels in range. I'm broadcasting my ship's black box data on all frequencies. My reactor is going critical. Life support is shot to hell, and I've got a dozen very angry bugs closing in on my position. If anyone can hear this, I need you to record everything I'm sending. 3 years of combat data, alien ship specifications, tactical weaknesses, and star charts of uncharted jump points. This information could save lives. She paused, and they could hear alarms blaring in the background of her transmission. When she spoke again, her voice was softer, almost wistful. I never told anyone my real name because I didn't want to be a person. I wanted to be an idea. I wanted every human out here to know that we don't have to be afraid. We're small, we're alone, and we're surrounded by empires that have been traveling the stars for thousands of years. But we're also stubborn, clever, and we never give up. I wanted to prove that one human in one ship could make a difference. Another pause. The sound of metal tearing echoed through the transmission. I think I proved my point. To whoever finds this recording, keep fighting. Keep pushing forward. And tell them that Whiskey 79er went down swinging. The transmission cut out, replaced by the steady stream of data packets flooding their systems. Chen stared at his screen, watching gigabytes of information pour in. 3 years of combat experience, detailed analysis of alien weapon systems, maps of secret routes through dangerous space. It was a treasure trove of intelligence that would change everything for humanity's expansion into the frontier. But all he could think about was the woman dying alone out there, and how she had spent her final moments trying to help people she would never meet. Commander Reeves stood with his hands clasped behind his back, staring at the main view screen as if he could somehow see across the light years to where Whiskey 79er drifted. His voice was quiet when he finally spoke. Get me every ship captain in the sector. I don't care if they're military, civilian, or pirates. Someone has to be close enough to help her. Sir, even if we found someone, the Kraliks are almost on top of her position. Then we find someone crazy enough to fight them. Chen turned back to his console, sending out emergency broadcasts on every channel he could access. Deep down, he knew it was hopeless, but he kept trying anyway, because that's what Whiskey 79er would have done. In the darkness of space, the woman without a name checked her weapons one last time and smiled. The cargo hauler Midnight Runner was 3 days behind schedule, and Captain Sarah Okonkwo was not in the mood for heroics. She had a hold full of medical supplies destined for the colony on Haverson's world, a crew of 8 who deserved to get home alive, and absolutely no desire to tangle with alien warships. So when the emergency broadcast came through, her first instinct was to delete it and keep flying, but she didn't. Something made her listen to the whole message. Cap, you're not seriously considering this, her first mate, a grizzled veteran named Tom Barker, said from the co-pilot's seat. He had been watching her face as the broadcast played, and he knew that look. It was the same expression she wore when she was about to do something incredibly stupid and impossibly brave. Sarah sat in silence for a moment, her dark eyes fixed on the navigation display. The Vandar cluster was only 45 minutes away at their current speed. The Midnight Runner was a civilian vessel, unarmed except for a pair of point defense lasers meant for shooting down asteroids. She had no business going up against a Kralix hunting pack. Tom, pull up our cargo manifest, she said quietly. Sarah, don't even think about it. The manifest, Tom. He sighed and brought up the list. We're carrying medical supplies, construction equipment, some luxury goods for the colony, and 20 tons of synthetic fuel cells. Why does it matter? The fuel cells. They're the high-energy military-grade ones, right? The ones we picked up from that military depot? Tom's eyes widened as he realized where she was going with this. Oh, hell no. Sarah, those things are basically bombs waiting for an ignition source. If you're thinking what I think you're thinking, you'll blow us all to pieces. Only if we're still attached to them when they go off, she replied calmly, her fingers already working the navigation controls. Tell the crew to suit up. Emergency vacuum protocols, and get me a direct line to whoever's piloting Whiskey 79er. You can't be serious. As a heart attack. We're going in. The Midnight Runner changed course, her powerful engines burning hard toward the Vandar cluster. Sarah knew she was risking everything. Her ship, her crew, her own life. For a woman she had never met. But she had heard the stories about Whiskey 79er. Every spacer had. The mysterious pilot who showed up when things looked darkest, who fought impossible odds and won. Who saved lives and asked for nothing in return. Maybe it was time someone returned the favor. 20 minutes later, they entered the cluster, and Sarah got her first visual of the situation. Whiskey 79er's ship hung dead in space, a sleek black interceptor that looked more like a piece of abstract art than a spacecraft. It was scarred with weapon burns trailing atmosphere from a dozen breaches and listing badly to one side. Surrounding it in a slowly tightening circle were 12 Kralix corvettes, their organic-looking hulls covered in chitinous armor and bristling with weapons. Jesus, Tom whispered. We're all going to die. Not today, Sarah said firmly. She opened a channel on the emergency frequency.
Whiskey 79er, this is the cargo hauler Midnight Runner.
We're here to get you out. Can you hear me? Static filled the bridge for a moment, and then that same calm voice from the broadcast came through. Midnight Runner, I appreciate the thought, but you need to turn around right now. These Kraliks are here for me. No point in you dying too. With respect, ma'am, shut up and let me do my job, Sarah replied, her hands flying over the controls. Tom, start jettisoning those fuel cells. I want them spread out in a wide pattern between us and those alien ships. Then override the safety protocols and set them to proximity detonation. Tom stared at her. You want to turn our cargo into a minefield? Exactly. Get moving. Behind them, the cargo bay doors opened and massive canisters began floating out into space. Tom programmed each one with a simple instruction. Explode if anything comes within 50 meters. In less than 3 minutes, they had created a barrier of 20 improvised bombs between themselves and the Kraliks' hunting pack. The aliens had noticed them now. The lead corvette broke formation and began accelerating toward the Midnight Runner, its weapon ports glowing with building energy. They're charging weapons, Tom reported, his voice tight with fear. Let them, Sarah said. She opened the channel again. Whiskey 79er, I'm coming alongside your ship. My crew is going to attach magnetic grapples and tow you out. We've got maybe 2 minutes before those bugs figure out what to do about our surprise gifts. Midnight Runner, this is insane. You're a cargo hauler. You can't outrun military ships. You'd be surprised what a hauler can do with a scared enough pilot, Sarah shot back. Besides, I've been making impossible cargo runs for 15 years. This is just another Tuesday for me. She could hear something that might have been a laugh from the other end of the transmission. All right, Captain. I'm trusting you with my life. Try not to get us both killed. The Midnight Runner slid up next to the damaged interceptor, and Sarah's crew moved with practiced efficiency. Magnetic clamps shot out, locking onto Whiskey 79er's hull. Within seconds, the two ships were joined, and Sarah began the delicate process of accelerating away from the Kraliks pack, while towing a dead weight. The lead Kraliks corvette wasn't patient. It fired, a stream of plasma bolts streaking through space toward them. The shots went wide, but they came close enough that Sarah could see them on her view screen, glowing balls of superheated gas that would punch through her ship's hull like it was paper. Then the corvette hit the minefield. The first fuel cell detonated in a brilliant flash of white light, the explosion powerful enough to stagger the alien ship. Before its pilot could react, 3 more cells exploded in rapid succession, catching the corvette in an overlapping wave of force. The alien ship's armor held, but it was knocked backward, spinning out of control. The other Kralik ship slowed, suddenly wary. They had expected easy prey, not a cargo hauler with a death wish and homemade explosives. Tom, how much time do we have before they figure out how to navigate around those cells? Sarah asked. Maybe 5 minutes. These aliens are smart. They'll realize the proximity triggers have a limited range soon enough. Then we've got 5 minutes to get the hell out of here. Plot a jump course to the nearest human outpost, but already done. But Sarah, we're still towing Whiskey 79er's ship. The extra mass is going to make our jump calculations wonky. We might end up anywhere. I'll take anywhere over here, she replied, her hands steady on the controls despite the sweat running down her face. Behind them, the Kraliks were adapting. They had figured out the safe distance and were beginning to weave through the floating fuel cells, moving slower but still closing the gap. Sarah pushed her engines harder, coaxing every bit of speed she could from the old hauler. The frame groaned in protest, metal stress indicators flashing red warnings across her displays. Come on, baby, she whispered to her ship. Just a little bit more. The jump drive began its charging sequence, a high-pitched whine filling the bridge as massive amounts of energy built up in the ship's core. They needed 30 more seconds. The Kraliks needed 20 to get within weapons range. Sarah made a decision. Tom, jettison the last 3 fuel cells directly behind us. Manual detonation on my mark. Sarah, if you time this wrong, the blast wave will catch us too. I know. Trust me. The seconds ticked down. 15, 10, 5. The Kralik ships were so close now that Sarah could see the individual weapon ports on their hulls, could almost imagine she saw the pilots inside, chittering in their alien language about the glory of the kill. Mark, she shouted. Tom hit the detonation button, and the universe turned white. 3 massive explosions went off simultaneously, creating a shockwave that rippled through space like a stone dropped in a pond. The Kralik ships were caught in the blast, tumbling away like leaves in a storm. At the same moment, Sarah engaged the jump drive. The Midnight Runner and its cargo vanished, leaving behind only expanding clouds of gas and very confused alien hunters. They materialized 3 light-years away, in an empty patch of space far from any known shipping lanes. Alarms were blaring, half the ship's systems were offline, and they had burned through enough fuel to make the accountants back home weep. But they were alive. Sarah slumped back in her chair, her whole body shaking with adrenaline. Tom, status report. We're intact, mostly. The jump drive is going to need a complete overhaul, and we've got hull stress fractures in about a dozen places. But we're breathing, so I'm calling it a win. What about Whiskey 79er? Tom checked the external sensors. Her ship is still attached. Still no power. I'm reading a faint life sign in the cockpit, but barely. Cap, we need to get her out of there now. Sarah was already moving, pulling on her vacuum suit. Get a medical team ready. I'm going out there myself. She cycled through the airlock and crossed the short distance between the 2 ships, her mag boots clanking against Whiskey 79er's hull. Up close, she could see just how badly damaged the interceptor was. It was a miracle it had held together at all. She found the emergency hatch and began manually cranking it open. Inside the tiny cockpit, lit only by emergency lighting, Sarah finally saw the woman who had become a legend. She was younger than Sarah had expected, maybe late 20s with short dark hair and sharp features. Her flight suit was covered in blood, and her breathing was shallow. The medical bay of the Midnight Runner was never designed for trauma cases. It had basic equipment, some diagnostic tools, a surgical bed that was primarily used for setting broken bones and treating industrial accidents. Dr. James Reeves, the ship's medic who spent most of his time treating indigestion and minor cuts, stared at the woman on his table with a mix of awe and terror. This shouldn't be possible, he muttered, running the medical scanner over her body for the 3rd time. These readings don't make sense. Sarah stood in the doorway, her arms crossed, still wearing her vacuum suit from the waist down. Will she live? I honestly don't know how she's alive right now, James replied, his hands moving quickly to attach monitoring leads to Whiskey 79er's temples and chest. She has 3 cracked ribs, a punctured lung, severe radiation exposure, and her body temperature is so low she should be dead. But her vital signs are stabilizing on their own. It's like her body is repairing itself faster than it should be able to. Is she enhanced? Military augmentation? James shook his head. I've seen military augmentation. This is different. Her cellular structure is human, completely human. But there's something in her blood chemistry I've never encountered before. It's almost like her body is supercharged, operating at a higher efficiency than normal human physiology allows. Sarah moved closer to the bed, looking down at the legendary pilot. In sleep, Whiskey 79er looked fragile, vulnerable. It was hard to reconcile this injured woman with the stories of impossible victories and daring escapes that had spread across human space. How long until she wakes up? Could be hours, could be days. Her brain activity suggests she's in some kind of deep regenerative state. I've stabilized her as best I can, but Sarah, we need to get her to a proper medical facility. Something beyond my capabilities is happening inside her body. Before Sarah could respond, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Tom's voice came through, urgent and stressed. Captain, we've got a problem. Multiple problems, actually. You need to get to the bridge right now. Sarah sprinted through the corridors, her mag boots clanging on the deck plates. When she burst onto the bridge, she found Tom staring at the communications console with an expression of pure disbelief. What is it? She demanded. We're being hailed by everyone. The Terran Federation, the Colonial Alliance, 3 different mining consortiums, 2 news networks, and about 50 private vessels. They all want to know if we really have Whiskey 79er on board. How do they even know that? Tom gestured at the screen. Your little stunt back there didn't go unnoticed. Multiple sensor nets picked up the explosion and the jump signature. And then there's this. He played back a recording. It was the final transmission from Whiskey 79er before they had rescued her, but this time it was being broadcast on every news channel across human space. Someone had taken her words, her calm acceptance of death, her final message about never giving up, and turned it into something bigger. Already people were calling her a hero, demanding to know her real identity, offering massive rewards for information about her. This is going to be a circus, Sarah groaned. What are we going to tell them? The truth? Tom suggested. That we picked up a distress call and did what anyone should do? Tom, we turned our cargo into bombs and fought off a Kralix hunting pack. That's not what anyone does. That's what crazy people do. Well, you are pretty crazy, Cap. Despite everything, Sarah smiled. Then she noticed something on the long-range sensors. What's that contact? Tom's smile faded. That's the other problem. We've got a military ship incoming, Terran Federation heavy cruiser, the Washington. They're burning hard toward our position, and they're hailing us on a priority military channel. Sarah's stomach sank. She had been so focused on the rescue that she hadn't thought about the political implications. Whiskey 79er had been operating outside any official chain of command for 3 years, engaging in combat operations without authorization, crossing into contested space that was technically off-limits to human vessels. Some people called her a hero. Others called her a rogue operator who was going to start an interstellar war. Put them through, Sarah said quietly. The view screen flickered, and a stern-looking woman in a crisp military uniform appeared. She had short gray hair, cold blue eyes, and the kind of face that suggested she had seen too much combat to be impressed by anything. This is Admiral Patricia Zhao of the Terran Federation warship Washington. Am I speaking to Captain Sarah Okonkwo of the Midnight Runner? Yes, Admiral. Captain Okonkwo, you are ordered to maintain your current position and prepare to be boarded. We are en route to secure the individual known as Whiskey 79er and take her into custody. Sarah felt her jaw tighten. Into custody? Admiral, this woman saved countless lives. She's a hero, not a criminal. That's not for you to decide, Captain. Whiskey 79er has been operating in violation of multiple interstellar treaties. Her actions, while occasionally beneficial, have created diplomatic incidents with 3 separate alien governments. She needs to answer for her choices. She's unconscious and severely injured, Sarah protested. She needs medical attention, not an interrogation. Admiral Zhao's expression didn't change. She'll receive the best medical care the Federation can provide, but she will also answer questions about her activities, her ship's technology, and how she acquired military-grade weapon systems that officially don't exist. This is not a negotiation, Captain. The Washington will arrive at your position in 4 hours. I expect your full cooperation. The transmission cut off before Sarah could respond. She stood there staring at the blank screen, feeling a mix of anger and helplessness. What are we going to do? Tom asked quietly. I don't know, Sarah admitted. We just saved her life. I'm not going to hand her over to be locked up in some military detention facility. Sarah, that's an admiral giving you a direct order. If you disobey, you'll lose your shipping license, maybe face criminal charges. The Midnight Runner is your life. She knew he was right. She had built her reputation over 15 years of honest work, hauling cargo to remote colonies, never missing a delivery, never breaking the rules. One decision could destroy everything she had worked for. But when she closed her eyes, she could hear Whiskey 79er's voice from that final transmission. The calm acceptance, the determination to help others even in the face of death, the absolute conviction that one person could make a difference. That voice had inspired her to risk everything to save a stranger. How could she abandon that stranger now? Tom, how long until our jump drive is back online? He blinked in surprise. Sarah, you're not seriously thinking about running from a Federation warship. How long? Maybe 3 hours if we push it. But the drive is damaged. We'd get 1 jump, maybe 2 before it gave out completely. And where would we even go? Every human outpost will be looking for us. There are places between the outposts, Sarah said slowly, an idea forming in her mind. Uncharted worlds, abandoned mining stations, hidden colonies that don't report to any government. If we can get far enough away, we can figure out what to do next. This is insane. You'll be throwing away everything. Maybe, Sarah agreed. Or maybe I'll be doing the right thing. Sometimes those are the same thing. She walked back to the medical bay where Dr. Reeves was still monitoring Whiskey 79er's condition. The woman's breathing had become steadier, her color slightly better. Whatever process was happening inside her body seemed to be working. James, I need you to do something for me, Sarah said. I need you to extract a sample of her blood and tissue for analysis, and I need you to do it without asking questions. The doctor looked up, his eyes sharp. Sarah, what are you planning? The less you know, the better. Just trust me. He studied her face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. You're going to take her and run, aren't you? You're going to make yourself a fugitive to protect her. Like I said, the less you know, the better. James pulled out a medical kit and began extracting the samples. As he worked, he spoke quietly. For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. This woman has saved thousands of lives. The Federation should be giving her a medal, not locking her up. Tell that to Admiral Zhao, Sarah replied with a bitter laugh. As the doctor sealed the samples in sterile containers, Whiskey 79er's eyes suddenly fluttered open. They were a startling shade of amber, bright and alert despite her injuries. She looked around the medical bay with confusion that quickly turned to understanding. How long was I out? She asked, her voice hoarse. About 3 hours, Sarah replied. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a cargo hauler, Whiskey 79er said with a faint smile. Then her expression turned serious. You shouldn't have saved me. The Federation is going to come after you now. Already happening. Admiral Zhao and the Washington are 4 hours out. Whiskey 79er tried to sit up, wincing in pain. Then you need to hand me over. Tell them you were just responding to a distress call. They'll let you go. Not happening, Sarah said firmly. You were willing to die to save people you'd never met. The least I can do is risk my shipping license to save you. This is more than your license at stake. Zhao won't stop until she has me in custody. She's been tracking me for over a year. Then we'll just have to make sure she doesn't catch us. Whiskey 79er stared at her for a long moment, those amber eyes seeming to look right through her. Why, you don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Why would you throw away your life for a stranger? Sarah thought about all the stories she had heard about this woman, all the lives saved, all the impossible victories. She thought about the calm voice in that final transmission, accepting death but still trying to help others. She thought about what kind of person does that, and what kind of person she wanted to be. Because someone has to, she said simply. And right now I'm the someone who's here. The jump was violent. The Midnight Runner shuddered and groaned as its damaged drive tore a hole through space-time, flinging them across dozens of light-years in an instant. Alarms screamed throughout the ship, emergency lights flashed, and Sarah gripped the pilot's chair so hard her knuckles turned white. When they finally materialized, half the systems were offline and smoke was pouring from the engineering section. Jump drive is dead, Tom reported, his voice shaking. The whole assembly just fused itself into slag. We're not jumping again without a complete rebuild. Sarah looked at the navigation display. They had emerged in an unnamed system at the edge of charted space, a place with no colonies, no stations, just a dying red star and 3 barren planets. It was exactly where she had aimed for. A nowhere place that the Federation would need time to search. How long do we have? She asked. The Washington can track our jump signature, but it'll take them time to calculate our destination with all the interference from the damaged drive. Maybe 12 hours, maybe 24. After that, they'll find us. In the medical bay, Whiskey 79er was sitting up despite Dr. Reeves's protests. She had insisted on seeing her ship or what was left of it. Through the viewport, they could see her damaged interceptor still magnetically clamped to the Midnight Runner's hull. The sleek black craft looked even worse up close, riddled with holes, its elegant lines marred by weapon scars. She's beautiful, Whiskey 79er said softly, a note of sadness in her voice. Was beautiful anyway. I built her myself, you know. Took me 2 years scavenging parts from a dozen different systems, designing custom modifications that shouldn't work but somehow did. Sarah stood beside her, studying the damaged ship. What's her name? She doesn't have one. Just like me. Whiskey 79er smiled sadly. Names make things real. They give things history, identity, connections. I didn't want any of that. I just wanted to fly and fight and help people without all the complications that come with being a person. How's that working out for you? Sarah asked dryly. Not great, obviously. The pilot turned to look at her. I still don't understand why you're doing this. You risked your ship and crew to save me. Now you're running from the Federation, throwing away your entire life. For what? I'm nobody. I don't even have a name. Everyone has a name, Sarah said. You just haven't told anyone yours. Whiskey 79er was quiet for a moment, her amber eyes distant. I had a name once. A family, a home, a normal life. I gave it all up 3 years ago when I stole my ship's prototype engine from a black site research facility and disappeared into the frontier. Why? Because I learned something I wasn't supposed to know. Something about what humanity is really doing out here. About the secrets our government keeps, about why we're really expanding so aggressively into alien territory. She looked down at her hands. I couldn't be part of that system anymore. But I also couldn't just do nothing. So I became Whiskey 79er, a ghost who could fight without being traced back to anyone. Before Sarah could ask more questions, Tom's voice crackled over the intercom.
Captain, you need to see this.
We're picking up a transmission. It's not from the Washington. They rushed to the bridge where Tom was hunched over the communications console, his face pale. It's a wideband broadcast from the Kralix Empire. They're offering a reward for information leading to the capture of Whiskey 79er. But that's not the scary part. What's the scary part? Sarah asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. They're not offering money or resources. They're offering territory. Specifically, they're promising to withdraw from 3 contested border systems and cede them to humanity if someone delivers Whiskey 79er to them alive. The bridge fell silent. 3 border systems represented billions of potential colonists. trillions in resources, strategic military advantages that could shift the balance of power in the entire sector. It was an offer that would make any government official seriously consider betrayal. "The Kraliks must really hate you," Tom said to Whiskey 79er, who had followed them to the bridge. She leaned against the doorframe, still weak from her injuries. "I destroyed their breeding world. Not the planet itself, just the orbital nurseries where they raise their warrior caste. Set their military expansion back by a decade. They take that kind of thing personally." Sarah stared at her. "You destroyed an entire breeding facility? By yourself?" It needed to be done. They were preparing to launch an invasion of the Terran colonies in the Outer Rim. Millions of human civilians would have died. She spoke matter-of-factly, as if discussing the weather rather than an act of war that would make her the most wanted human in several star systems. "And the Federation never knew?" Tom asked. "The Federation thinks it was an accident, an internal malfunction in the Kralik systems. They have no idea I was even there." Whiskey 79er moved slowly to one of the bridge stations, her hand pressed against her injured ribs. "That's why Ja wants me so badly. She suspects I know things, have done things. That could change everything if they became public." Sarah felt a headache building behind her eyes. This was so much bigger than she had thought. She had imagined rescuing a rogue pilot, maybe hiding her out for a few weeks until things calmed down, but this woman had single-handedly altered the political landscape of human space, and now both humans and aliens were hunting her. "There's more," Tom said reluctantly. "The transmission isn't just from the Kraliks. The Vorshan Empire has matched their offer, and the Nathari are broadcasting a message saying they'll provide safe passage through their territory to anyone bringing Whiskey 79er to neutral space for trial." "Trial for what?" Sarah demanded. "War crimes, unauthorized military action, violation of diplomatic protocols, take your pick." Tom shook his head. "Sarah, every power in this sector wants her. We can't hide from everyone." Whiskey 79er smiled, though there was no humor in it. "Welcome to my life. This is why I never stayed in one place, never told anyone my name, never made connections. The moment you become real to people, they can use you, hurt you, control you." Sarah turned to face her fully. "Is that really living? Running forever, never trusting anyone, dying alone in a broken ship? I didn't die alone. You saved me. And now we're all in this together," Sarah said firmly. "So how about you start trusting us? Really trusting us. Starting with your actual name." The pilot looked at her for a long moment, those strange amber eyes seeming to weigh and measure her. Finally she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maya? My name is Maya Chen. I was a test pilot for Advanced Research Division before I went rogue. My family thinks I'm dead. The Federation classified all records of my existence. For 3 years I've been a ghost." She straightened up, meeting Sarah's gaze directly. "But you asked and you saved my life, so you deserve to know. I'm Maya Chen and I'm tired of being nobody." Sarah reached out and shook her hand. "Nice to meet you, Maya. I'm Sarah Okonkwo and I apparently make terrible decisions that get me in way over my head." Despite everything, Maya laughed. It was a rusty sound, as if she hadn't laughed in years. "You really do. So what's your terrible decision for getting us out of this mess?" Sarah turned back to the view screen, looking out at the empty system. "We need allies. People who won't turn us over to the Federation or sell us to aliens. And we need information about why everyone wants you so badly." "I might know someone," Maya said slowly. "There's a place called Freeport Station. It's an independent colony that doesn't answer to any government, built inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the Terminus Belt. Pirates, smugglers, deserters, people who want to disappear. If we can make it there, we might be able to lay low and figure out our next move." "How far?" "From here? 2 weeks if we have a working jump drive. 6 months on conventional engines." Tom groaned. "Our jump drive is scrap metal, and we don't have 6 months of supplies." "Then we find another jump drive," Sarah said. "There has to be something in this system we can salvage or trade for." For the next 3 hours they scanned the system looking for anything useful. The planets were barren rock. The asteroid fields were picked clean and there were no signs of any previous human presence. They were about to give up when Maya noticed something odd on the deep space sensors. "There," she said, pointing at a faint reading. "That signature doesn't match anything natural." They adjusted course, moving slowly toward the signal. As they got closer, the object resolved on their screens. It was a ship, ancient and derelict, floating in the space between planets. The design was unlike anything Sarah had ever seen, all curves and organic-looking lines that seemed to flow rather than being built. "Is that what I think it is?" Tom whispered. Maya nodded slowly. That's a predecessor vessel. The alien race that supposedly built the first jump gates and disappeared 10,000 years ago. Nobody's ever found an intact ship before, just fragments and ruins. Is it intact? Sarah asked. Only one way to find out. They approached carefully, Sarah's hand steady on the controls despite her racing heart. The predecessor ship was massive, easily 3 times the size of the Midnight Runner and completely dark. No power readings, no life signs, just a ghost floating in the black. I'm suiting up, Maya announced. I need to see what's inside that ship. You're injured, Dr. Reeves protested. You should be in bed, not exploring alien derelicts. Doc, if that ship has even a partially functional jump drive, it could save all our lives. I'm going. Maya's tone left no room for argument. Sarah made a decision. I'm going with you. Tom, you have the bridge. If anything happens to us, jump the ship to Freeport Station and tell them what happened. We don't have a jump drive, Tom reminded her. Then run like hell. The 2 women suited up and cycled through the airlock using maneuvering jets to cross the gap between ships. Up close, the predecessor vessel was even more impressive. Its hull was made of some material that seemed to shift colors in the starlight, dark blue flowing to deep purple to black. There were no obvious doors or hatches, just smooth surfaces that looked more grown than built. Maya ran her gloved hand over the hull. There's still power in this ship. Very faint, but it's there. The hull is responding to my touch. As if hearing her words, a section of the hull suddenly rippled and opened, revealing a circular passage into the ship's interior. Emergency lights flickered to life, casting a dim blue glow over corridors that curved away in impossible directions. Well, Sarah said, that's not creepy at all. They entered the ship, their helmet lights cutting through the gloom. The interior was like nothing Sarah had ever seen. The walls seemed alive, pulsing gently with bioluminescent light. Strange symbols covered every surface, flowing and changing as they watched. The air was thin but breathable, kept at exactly human comfortable temperature. This is incredible, Maya breathed. It's like the ship is trying to accommodate us. They moved deeper into the vessel, following corridors that seemed to guide them forward. After what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes, they found what they were looking for. A chamber at the heart of the ship, filled with crystalline structures that hummed with contained energy. The jump drive, Maya said, her voice full of awe. It's still functional. After 10,000 years, it's still working. Sarah approached one of the crystals, studying the way light seemed to dance inside it. Can we use it? Can we install it in the Midnight Runner? It's not that simple. Predecessor technology doesn't work like ours. Their drives don't just punch through space, they fold it, bend it, make distance meaningless. Maya was running her scanner over the crystals, her eyes wide behind her helmet visor, but there might be a way to interface it with our systems. It would take time, expertise, and more luck than anyone deserves. How much time? Days. Maybe a week if everything goes perfectly. Sarah thought about Admiral Zhao, about the Kralix hunting packs, about every power in the galaxy looking for them. We don't have a week. We have hours, maybe a day at most. Maya turned to her, and even through the helmet, Sarah could see the fierce determination in those amber eyes. Then I guess we better work fast. The work was brutal. Maya worked 18-hour shifts, barely stopping to eat or sleep, her hands moving with frantic precision as she attempted to bridge the gap between 10,000-year-old alien technology and human engineering. Sarah's crew helped where they could, following Maya's increasingly exhausted instructions, hauling equipment from the Midnight Runner to the predecessor ship and back again. Dr. Reeves watched Maya with growing concern. She's going to collapse, he told Sarah privately. Her body is still healing from the injuries. She needs rest. Tell her that, Sarah replied, watching through the viewport as Maya floated in space between the 2 ships, welding connection points with a plasma torch. She knows we're running out of time. Tom approached with the latest update. Long-range sensors are picking up jump signatures. Multiple ships entering the system. Still too far away to identify, but they're burning hard toward our position. How long? 8 hours. Maybe 10. Sarah did the math in her head. 10 hours to finish integrating an alien jump drive, test it, and escape before whoever was coming arrived to collect the bounty on Maya's head. It was impossible. But then again, everything about the past few days had been impossible. She opened a channel to Maya. We've got company incoming. How much longer do you need? Maya's voice came back, tight with concentration. The integration is almost complete, but I need to calibrate the dimensional matrices. If I get it wrong, we could jump inside a planet or scatter our atoms across half the galaxy. This isn't like a normal jump drive where you just punch in coordinates. How does it work? The predecessors thought about space differently than we do. Their drives don't move the ship, they move reality around the ship. You have to visualize your destination, hold it in your mind with perfect clarity, and the drive responds to your intention. Maya paused. It's more art than science. And I've never done it before. Sarah felt her stomach drop. You're saying this is experimental. I'm saying this is insane, impossible, and our only chance. So yes, experimental sounds about right. Over the next 6 hours, Sarah watched Maya work miracles. The pilot moved between systems with an intuition that seemed almost supernatural, her hands finding solutions that Sarah's more experienced engineers couldn't see. It was like watching someone speak a language they had never learned but somehow understood. How does she know what to do? Tom wondered aloud. That's predecessor technology. Humanity has been studying their artifacts for decades and barely understands the basics. Sarah remembered something Maya had said earlier about her blood chemistry, about the way her body healed impossibly fast. I don't think she's entirely baseline human anymore. Whatever they did to her at that research facility, it changed her. Changed her how? I don't know. But I'm starting to understand why the Federation wants her back so badly. With 2 hours remaining before the unknown ships arrived, Maya finally emerged from the predecessor vessel. She looked exhausted, her face pale and drawn, but there was triumph in her eyes. It's done, she announced. The drive is integrated with our navigation systems. It won't be pretty, and I can't guarantee it'll work more than once, but we can jump. Where can we go? Sarah asked. Anywhere I can picture clearly in my mind. Freeport Station is our best bet. I've been there before, I know the coordinates, I can visualize it. Maya pulled off her helmet, running her hands through her sweat-soaked hair. But there's something else. While I was working inside that ship, I accessed some of its data archives. The predecessors didn't just disappear, Sarah. They ascended, evolved into something beyond physical form, and before they left, they seeded the galaxy with their technology, waiting for species that were ready to use it. Ready how? Ready to think beyond war and conquest. Ready to see the universe as something to explore, not dominate. Maya looked at Sarah with an intensity that was almost frightening. That's why the drive responds to intention. It reads the pilot's mind, their purpose. If you try to use it for destruction or conquest, it won't work. It only responds to those who want to discover, to protect, to help. Sarah thought about what that meant. So the Federation could never use this technology, even if they found it. Exactly. Their entire expansion strategy is based on military control and resource extraction. The predecessor technology would reject them. Maya smiled grimly. But someone like me, someone who spent 3 years fighting to protect people with no thought of reward or recognition, the drive recognizes that. It welcomed me. That's why they enhanced you, Sarah realized. The research facility was trying to create pilots who could use predecessor technology. They succeeded. But I don't think they expected me to realize what they were doing and run. Maya's expression hardened. The Federation has been finding predecessor sites for years. They've been trying to reverse engineer the technology, create enhanced pilots who could use it. I was their prototype, their first success. And when I disappeared, I took all their research with me. Before Sarah could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. Tom's hands flew over the controls. They're here! 3 ships just jumped into the system. Identifying now. He paused, his face going white. Sarah, it's the Washington, flanked by 2 Kralix corvettes. What? Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. The Federation is working with the Kralix? Not officially, Maya said quietly. But Zhao is ambitious. If she can deliver me to the Kralix and secure those 3 border systems, she'll be a hero. The fact that she's betraying humanity's best interests won't matter once she has the credit. Sarah felt rage building in her chest. This was what humanity had become in the rush to expand across the stars. Officers willing to betray their own people for political advancement. Governments making deals with hostile aliens. The very thing Maya had been fighting against for 3 years. We're not giving you to them, Sarah said firmly. Tom prepped the crew for jump. Maya, get us to Freeport Station. Maya moved to the navigation console, her hands hovering over the controls. The predecessor drive had been interfaced with their systems, but it still looked alien. Crystalline structures pulsing with blue light. Everyone needs to strap in. This is going to be different from a normal jump. The crew scrambled to their stations. Through the view screen, Sarah could see the Washington and the Kralix ships closing in, weapon ports glowing with building energy. They had minutes at most. Maya closed her eyes, her hands resting on the crystalline interface. I need you all to think about safety, about finding sanctuary. The drive responds to collective consciousness. If we all focus on the same thing, it makes the jump stronger, more stable. You're saying we need to wish really hard? Tom asked skeptically. I'm saying we need to want it together. All of us focused on the same goal: survival, safety, home. Maya's voice was calm despite the approaching danger. Freeport Station is more than coordinates. It's a feeling. Freedom, independence, a place where nobody asks your name or your history. Hold that feeling in your mind. Sarah closed her eyes, trying to picture it. A station where they could be safe, where Maya could finally rest, where they could figure out what came next. She thought about the woman beside her, the pilot who had given up everything to protect strangers. She thought about her crew, good people who deserved better than to be caught in this mess. She thought about what it meant to be human, to help others even when it cost you everything. The predecessor drive began to hum, a sound that resonated not in her ears but in her bones, in her soul. It was like music and mathematics had a child, beautiful and terrible and utterly alien. The crystalline structures glowed brighter, and Sarah felt something impossible happening. The ship wasn't moving, but reality was shifting around them, folding and bending and reshaping itself. Jump in 3 seconds, Maya announced, her voice distant as if she were speaking from very far away. 2, 1. The universe turned inside out. Sarah experienced something that shouldn't have been possible to experience. She felt the ship existing in multiple places simultaneously, felt the vast distances of space compress into nothingness, felt the mathematical certainty of their destination pulling them forward. For an instant that lasted forever, she could see everything. The entire galaxy spread out like a map, countless worlds and countless lives all connected by invisible threads of possibility. Then reality snapped back into place and they were somewhere else. Freeport Station hung before them, exactly as Maya had described it. A massive asteroid that had been hollowed out and transformed into a city in space. Lights glowed from thousands of windows. Ships of every size and design clustered around docking ports, and massive weapons arrays covered its surface. A clear warning that this place could defend itself. Jump successful, Maya said, slumping in her chair. We made it. Tom was staring at his instruments in disbelief. Sarah, according to the star charts, we just crossed 200 light years. Instantly. No transition time, no jump corridor, just here to there in a blink. The predecessor drive, Sarah said, still feeling the aftershocks of that impossible moment. It doesn't just move through space, it moves through the idea of space. They were hailed immediately. A gruff voice with a heavy accent came through the speakers. Unknown vessel, this is Freeport Station Authority. State your business or turn around. Sarah took a breath and opened the channel. Freeport Authority, this is Captain Sarah Okonkwo of the merchant vessel Midnight Runner. We're requesting emergency docking and sanctuary. We have refugees aboard. There was a pause. Refugees from what? Sarah looked at Maya, who nodded. From the Terran Federation. And from half the alien empires in the sector. It's a long story. Another pause, longer this time. Then the voice came back, sounding amused. Well, you came to the right place for long stories. Proceed to docking bay 17. Welcome to Freeport, Captain. Where the only law is that there is no law. Freeport Station was chaos given physical form. The interior of the hollowed asteroid was a maze of platforms, walkways, and structures that seemed to have been built with no plan beyond filling every available space. Neon signs advertised everything from weapons to augmentation clinics to pleasures Sarah didn't want to think about. The population was just as diverse, humans mixing with aliens from a dozen species, some hostile to each other in normal space but coexisting here under the iron rule of mutual self-interest. This place is amazing, Tom said, staring out the viewport as they guided the Midnight Runner into the docking bay, and also terrifying. That's Freeport, Maya said with a faint smile of someone seeing an old familiar place. No governments, no laws except what the station authority enforces. You can be anyone here, do anything here as long as you don't threaten the station itself. The docking process was efficient, and within an hour they were walking through the crowded corridors of the station. Sarah had left Tom and Dr. Reeves with the ship, but brought along 2 of her security personnel. Maya walked beside her wearing a borrowed jacket with the hood pulled up to hide her distinctive features. They made their way to a bar called the Broken Jump, the establishment that Maya claimed was neutral ground, where information could be bought and sold safely. The interior was dark and smoky, filled with beings from across the galaxy nursing drinks and conducting quiet business in shadowed booths. The bartender was a massive Kralix, his chitinous armor scarred from old battles. He looked up as they approached, his compound eyes focusing on Maya with sudden recognition. For a moment Sarah tensed, reaching for the weapon at her hip. Then the Kralix did something unexpected. He laughed, a clicking, chittering sound that made the other patrons look over. Shentar walks into my bar. I should kill you where you stand, claim the glory for my hive. You could try, Crix, Maya replied calmly, pushing back her hood. But then I'd have to break more of your armor, and you're running out of pieces to replace. The Kralix laughed again and reached across the bar to clasp Maya's arm in what Sarah realized was a gesture of respect among his species. You destroyed our breeding station, cost my people a decade of expansion. I should hate you. But you did it to save human civilians, not for conquest or glory. That is warrior's honor. He released her arm. Your fight is not with me, Shentar. Drink and be welcome in my establishment. Sarah watched this exchange with growing amazement. You know each other. Crix and I fought once 3 years ago in the Outer Rim. I damaged his ship, he damaged mine, and we both limped away with newfound respect. Maya settled onto a bar stool. Freeport is full of beings like him. People who understand that war is business and survival, not personal hatred. Crix poured them drinks, something amber that burned going down. You are in trouble, Shentar. The word has spread even here. The Federation offers rewards, the empires offer territory. Many would sell their own kin for such prizes. I know, Maya said quietly. That's why I'm here. I need to know who I can trust, and I need to disappear completely. Can you help? The Kralix considered this, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Perhaps. But first you must understand what you have done. You are no longer just a rogue pilot. You are a symbol, a legend that grows with each telling. The humans call you a hero. The aliens call you a demon. But all agree that you represent something dangerous, the idea that one individual can change the course of history. I never wanted to be a symbol, Maya protested. I just wanted to help people. Yet here we are. Crix leaned forward. I will tell you something, Shentar. Something I learned from watching this galaxy for many years. Symbols are more powerful than armies. An army can conquer a world, but a symbol can change minds, inspire movements, reshape entire civilizations. You have become that symbol. The question is, what will you do with it? Before Maya could answer, Sarah's communicator chirped. It was Tom, and his voice was urgent. Captain, we have a problem. 3 ships just docked at the station. Federation vessels disguised as merchants, but I recognize the hull signatures. They're searching for us. Sarah's blood ran cold. Admiral Zhao found us already? Worse, these aren't military ships. They're intelligence operatives, black ops types, and they're broadcasting a message to every dockmaster and authority on the station. They're offering triple the bounty for information about Maya's location. Maya closed her eyes. They're not trying to arrest me anymore. They're trying to make sure I never talk about what I know. Sarah made a decision. Tom, prep the ship for immediate departure. We're leaving. Where are we going to go? Tom asked helplessly. The predecessor drive needs time to recharge, and every system in the galaxy is looking for us. Maya stood up from the bar, her face set with determination. Then we don't run anymore. Running hasn't solved anything, it's just delayed the inevitable. It's time to change the game. What are you suggesting? Sarah asked. I'm suggesting we go public, all of it. The Federation's experiments with enhanced pilots, their attempts to monopolize predecessor technology, Admiral Zhao's deal with the Kralix. Everything I know. Broadcast to every news network, every colony, every ship in human space. Crix's mandibles clicked in what might have been approval. A bold strategy, but dangerous. You would make yourself an even bigger target. I'm already the biggest target in the galaxy, Maya pointed out. At least this way I get to control the narrative. If everyone knows what the Federation has been doing, they can't quietly make me disappear. Sarah saw the logic in it, but also the risk. They'll discredit you. Call you a traitor, a liar, maybe even insane. Probably, Maya agreed. But they'll have to answer questions. People will start looking into things. And maybe, just maybe, it'll start a conversation about what kind of humanity we want to be as we expand into the stars. Do we want to be conquerors and manipulators? Or do we want to be explorers and protectors? It was a beautiful dream, Sarah thought. And probably a suicide mission. But looking at Maya's face, seeing the determination and hope there, she found herself believing in it. All right, Sarah said. Let's burn it all down. But we do it smart. Crix, do you know anyone on this station who can help us broadcast a message that can't be traced or shut down? The Kralix grinned, his mandibles spreading wide. I know exactly the being you need. Follow me. They moved through the station's corridors quickly, Crix leading them deeper into the asteroid's heart. They passed through districts that became progressively more run down and dangerous, until they reached a section that looked abandoned. Crix stopped at a nondescript door and knocked in a complex pattern. The door opened to reveal a being Sarah had never seen before. It was humanoid, but clearly not human. with skin that seemed to shimmer with bioluminescent patterns and eyes that were solid black. It studied them with an intelligence that felt ancient. "Crix brings interesting guests," the being said, its voice musical and strange. "A cargo captain who thinks she can change the world, and the legendary Shentar who pretends to be nobody. Come in. I am Whisper, and I deal in information." The interior was filled with technology from 100 different civilizations, screens and holograms showing data streams from across the galaxy. Whisper gestured for them to sit and folded itself into a chair that seemed to grow from the floor. "You want to broadcast a message that will shake governments and topple the powerful," Whisper said. It wasn't a question. "This is dangerous work. Can you do it?" Maya asked directly. "Of course. I have access to networks that span 30 star systems. But such a service is not free. What do you offer in trade?" Maya reached into her jacket and pulled out a data chip. "Complete technical specifications for interfacing human technology with predecessor systems. Everything I learned working with their jump drive. It's worth billions, maybe trillions." Whisper's eyes seemed to glow brighter. "You would give this away? You could sell it, become wealthy beyond measure. Money doesn't matter if we're all dead or controlled by corrupt governments," Maya replied. "This information needs to spread. Let anyone who wants to explore and discover have access to the predecessor's gifts. No more monopolies, no more secret programs." The being was silent for a long moment, then it nodded slowly. "You truly are the symbol everyone speaks of. Very well. I will broadcast your message across every channel, every network, every communication system I can access. It will reach billions. But be warned, you cannot take this back. Once the words are spoken, your life will never be the same. My life hasn't been the same since I stole that prototype engine 3 years ago," Maya said with a faint smile. "I'm ready." Whisper set up the recording equipment, sophisticated systems that would capture not just video and audio, but also verification data to prove the message was authentic and unaltered. Sarah stood back and watched as Maya prepared herself, taking deep breaths and organizing her thoughts. "Are you sure about this?" Sarah asked quietly. "No," Maya admitted. "But someone has to start asking the hard questions. Someone has to point out that we're becoming the very thing we fled Earth to escape. An empire built on exploitation and control. If that someone has to be me, then so be it." She stepped in front of the camera and Sarah saw the transformation. The exhausted, injured pilot fell away, replaced by something stronger. This was the woman who had fought impossible battles and won, who had stared down death and kept fighting, who had become a legend by refusing to give up. "My name is Maya Chen," she began. And Sarah knew the galaxy was about to change. "For 3 years I've been known only as Whiskey 79er, a ghost story told by pilots and soldiers. Today, I'm going to tell you the truth about everything, the truth about what I've done, what I've seen, and what our government has been hiding from all of us." For the next 30 minutes, Maya spoke. She detailed the Black Site research facility, the experiments designed to create enhanced pilots, the Federation's attempts to monopolize predecessor technology. She explained her missions, the battles she had fought, the lives she had saved. She talked about Admiral Zhao's deal with the Kralliks, about how easily their leaders would betray humanity's interests for personal gain. But more than accusations, Maya talked about hope. She spoke about what humanity could be, should be as they expanded into the stars, a species known for protecting the weak, for seeking knowledge over conquest, for cooperation rather than domination. "We stand at a crossroads," she said, looking directly into the camera. "We can continue down the path of empire, becoming just another predatory power in a galaxy full of them. Or we can choose to be something better, something the predecessors would recognize as worthy of their gifts. The choice isn't up to me. It's up to all of us, every human in every colony and every ship. What kind of species do we want to be?" She finished by releasing all the data she had collected. 3 years of combat information, alien specifications, predecessor technology insights, everything laid bare for anyone to access and study. "This information belongs to humanity, not to governments or corporations," she concluded. "Use it wisely. Use it to protect yourselves, to explore, to discover. And remember that one person, acting with conviction and courage, can change everything. I'm done being a ghost. I'm done being nobody. My name is Maya Chen, and I'm proud to be human." The recording ended. Whisper immediately began the upload process, sending the message racing across the communication networks at light speed. Within minutes, it would reach the nearest colonies. Within hours, every human settlement in the sector. Within days, the entire galaxy. Sarah's communicator exploded with alerts, messages from Tom, from news networks, from government officials, from ordinary people who had just seen the broadcast. The galaxy was reacting, and the reaction was seismic. "We need to move," Sarah said urgently. "The Federation operatives on the station will have seen that. They'll be coming for us right now." They ran through the corridors, Crix leading them by a circuitous route back toward the docking bays. Behind them, they could hear shouts and the sound of weapons fire. The station's security was engaging someone, probably the Federation agents trying to reach them. They burst onto the dock where the midnight runner waited and found Tom had already prepped the ship for launch. "Get on board," he shouted. Half the station is in an uproar. Some want to protect Maya, others want to turn her in. It's chaos out there. As they scrambled aboard, Sarah turned to Crix. "Thank you for everything." The Kralix warrior clicked his mandibles. "Thank you, Captain, for showing that not all humans are conquerors. Perhaps there is hope for your species after all. Now go, before those who lack honor arrive." The Midnight Runner's engines fired up, pulling away from the dock with the predecessor drive humming with renewed power. As they cleared the station, Sarah looked back at the massive asteroid and all the life teeming within it. "Where do we go now?" Tom asked. "We can't exactly hide anymore." Maya smiled, and for the first time since Sarah had met her, it was a genuine smile without the weight of secrets behind it. "We don't hide. We explore." The predecessors left technology scattered across the galaxy, waiting for people ready to use it. "We're going to find it, study it, and share it with anyone who seeks knowledge instead of power. That's going to make us a lot of enemies," Sarah pointed out. "We already have enemies. At least this way we'll have a purpose." Sarah thought about her old life, hauling cargo on safe routes, following regulations, never taking risks. Then she thought about the past few days, the impossible rescues, the ancient alien technology, the chance to actually make a difference in the galaxy. "All right," she said, settling into the captain's chair. "Let's go be explorers. Tom, plot a course for the nearest uncharted sector. Maya, get some rest. And someone find me a good cup of coffee, because this is going to be one hell of a journey." As the Midnight Runner jumped away carrying its crew toward unknown adventures, messages continued to flood across human space. Maya's broadcast had sparked something, a conversation that would rage for years. Some called her a traitor, others called her a hero, but everyone was talking, questioning, demanding answers from their leaders. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy learned that change comes not from governments or empires, but from individuals willing to stand up and say what needs to be said. Colonies began demanding more independence from Federation control. Pilots started refusing orders that violated ethical guidelines. Scientists shared research that had been classified for decades. The movement started small, but it grew. Admiral Zhao was recalled to Earth, facing an investigation into her dealings with the Kralix. The black site research facilities were exposed, shut down, and their victims offered compensation. The Federation Council was forced to draft new laws governing the use of predecessor technology, laws that emphasized exploration and cooperation over military application. Not everyone was happy about these changes. There were those who wanted humanity to be an empire, to dominate the galaxy through strength and fear. They saw Maya Chen as a threat to their vision, and they would spend years trying to hunt her down. But they would never find her. The woman without a name had learned the value of having one, but she had also learned that names were just labels. What mattered was what you did, who you helped, what you stood for. Maya Chen and the crew of the Midnight Runner became something new. Explorers who traveled to the forgotten corners of the galaxy, finding predecessor sites and sharing their discoveries with anyone who wanted to learn. They found ancient libraries containing knowledge from civilizations that had died before humans left their caves. They discovered star maps showing routes through space that no one had ever traveled. They encountered alien species that had hidden from the galactic community for centuries, and they built bridges of understanding instead of walls of mistrust. And wherever they went, they left behind the same message that Maya had broadcast that day on Freeport Station. That one person could make a difference. That humanity could choose to be explorers instead of conquerors. That the future belonged to those brave enough to reach for it. Sarah Okonkwo never went back to hauling cargo on safe routes. She had found something better, a purpose that mattered, a crew that had become family, and a friend who had shown her what courage really meant. Some nights, when they were drifting between stars, she would think about the distress signal that had changed everything. One call for help, one decision to respond, and her entire life had transformed. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked Maya one evening, as they stood in the observation deck watching a nebula paint the darkness with colors that had no names. Maya was quiet for a moment, her amber eyes reflecting the cosmic light. "Regret giving up my anonymity? Regret exposing secrets that made me a target? Regret trusting you to save me. She smiled. Not for a second. I spent 3 years as a ghost, fighting battles but never connecting with anyone. Now I have a crew, friends, a home that moves among the stars. I have a name again, and people who know that name and care about the person behind it. Even though half the galaxy wants to capture you, especially because of that, Maya replied with a laugh. It means what I said mattered. It means people are listening. And that's all I ever wanted, for humanity to stop and think about who we're becoming. Tom joined them, carrying 3 cups of coffee. You two are getting philosophical again. That's my cue to remind you that we have actual work to do. Dr. Reeves found something interesting in the data from that last predecessor site. They headed back to the bridge, where the crew was gathered around a holographic display. The image showed a star system deep in uncharted space, and at its center was something impossible. A structure that dwarfed planets, a ring that encircled an entire star, covered in what looked like cities and forests and oceans. Is that what I think it is? Sarah whispered. A Dyson sphere, Maya confirmed, her voice full of wonder. The predecessors built a world around a sun, and according to the data, it's still active, still inhabited. The crew looked at each other, seeing the same excitement reflected in every face. This was why they explored, why they risked everything to chase ancient mysteries, not for wealth or glory, but for moments like this, standing on the edge of discovery. Set a course, Sarah ordered, and her crew jumped to their stations with practiced efficiency. The Midnight Runner turned toward the distant star system, its predecessor drive humming with anticipation. Inside, a woman who had once been nobody prepared to meet the descendants of the galaxy's oldest civilization. Beside her, a captain who had traded safety for adventure checked their supplies and made sure they were ready for anything. Behind them, scattered across hundreds of worlds, millions of humans were having conversations about what kind of species they wanted to be. Children in schools learned about Maya Chen, about the pilot who had refused to be silent when silence was easier. Young people joining the military demanded better training, better ethics, better leadership. Scientists shared discoveries openly instead of hoarding them. The galaxy was changing slowly but surely, and it had started with one woman who had sent a distress signal into the dark, trusting that someone would answer. Someone had, and that had made all the difference. Years later, historians would mark Maya Chen's broadcast as the moment humanity's expansion into the stars took a different path. They would study her words, debate her methods, analyze her impact. Some would criticize her choices, others would praise them, but everyone would agree on one thing. She had been exactly what humanity needed at exactly the right moment, a reminder that individuals matter, that one voice speaking truth could echo across the galaxy, that courage and conviction could change the course of history. The woman who had once hidden behind a call sign, who had refused to have a name because names made you real and vulnerable, had instead become the most real person in human space. She had shown everyone that being vulnerable was not weakness but strength, that admitting you were scared but fighting anyway was the truest form of bravery. And so the Midnight Runner sailed on toward new discoveries, carrying a crew of explorers who had learned that the greatest adventures were not found in star charts or ancient ruins, but in the connections between people who chose to stand together against impossible odds. Maya Chen had once said that she wanted to be an idea instead of a person. In the end, she had become both. The idea that one human could make a difference, and the person who had proven it was true. Her call sign might have been Whiskey 79er, but her legacy was so much more. It was every person who stood up and spoke truth to power, every scientist who shared knowledge freely, every pilot who chose to protect instead of conquer, every ordinary individual who looked at an impossible situation and decided to try anyway. The woman without a name had given herself a name, and in doing so had given humanity something precious: hope, purpose, a reminder that even in the vast darkness of space, one small light could illuminate the way forward. And as the Midnight Runner jumped toward its next adventure, that light burned brighter than any star,